The clock is at 0 and another Cougar football game is in the books.
Drops back in coverage and Bachmeier. The hole opens and he sprints through it into the end zone for a touchdown. Meyer across the middle to the tight end. More broken tackles. There goes Carson Ryan. Dives for the pylon. Touchdown. 43 yards. The big guys up front. Hoover under center. Quick to the line. Pitch play left side and first down and more. It's a touchdown. John Denman in the backfield. Play fake to him. Hoover in the pocket. Trying to find somewhere to go with the ball. Across the body throw. And it's intercepted. Slant. McAllister tip ball. Interception BYU. And go back the other way. The cut inside. Now back to the outside. The shove. Pylon. Touchdown.
Now it's time to break down all the action. You're listening to the Cougar Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's your Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles joining me. Alex, my man, long time no see. What's up?
Long time no see, indeed. Great win for BYU. Just absolutely taking it to TCU from the beginning, from the get-go. Big bounce back win for the Cougars, and of course keeping themselves in the driver's seat of their own destiny.
And that is the storyline, is the bounce back, right? Coming off of the TCU loss last week, everybody was curious to how not only BYU would respond, but frankly how this freshman quarterback in Bear Bachmeier would respond, because he had by far his worst game of the season last week against a very, 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 very good Texas Tech defense. And there was a lot of talk about if Bear would kind of curl up and, if his confidence would waver after that. But I thought he responded well. He put up 296 yards on 23 of 33. Really, really good game. He had one touchdown through the air, but he also added another monster touchdown on the ground to go along with 59 rushing yards. So I think it's safe to say Bear Bachmeier is not going to let that Texas Tech loss phase him at all. He has responded really well. He's ready to lead this team down the stretch and do what they need to do to make a push for the Big 12 title.
100%. And I think overall, obviously Bear Bachmeier plays a huge part in that, but I think just overall the offense, looking a lot better tonight, a lot more efficient than they were against a really, really good Texas Tech defense. Tonight, able to find some soft spots a lot down the field when it comes to this TCU team. The big plays made all night by Parker Kingston, couple big catches made by Carson Ryan. Man, I thought Carson Ryan was a little more unlocked this game. Good to see him get involved massively in the passing game tonight.
Oh my gosh, that 43-yard catch and run for the touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal. And that's the type of stuff that he should have been doing all season. And I wish we would see more of him. But sometimes there's too many mouths to feed with this BYU offense. But he should have had a second touchdown too later in the game. And he made sure to give Bear Bachmeier some teasing for it because Bear had like three dudes right in his face, and the fact that he even got it to Carson Ryan on that throw, like that was a tremendous job in itself. And Ryan kind of had to dig it off the ground. But if that ball would have been put up another 2 feet higher, I think Ryan would have took that one in for the touchdown. But yeah, it's good to see him put up a big game in the stat sheet, because it felt like he had been quiet a little bit over the past few weeks.
Absolutely. Earlier in the season, it seemed like him and Bear Bachmeier had a good connection, and then it kind of wavered off a little bit, and not necessarily in a bad way, because I thought Bear Bachmeier did a great job of finding guys like Parker Kingston and really getting him involved in the offense. Of course, Chase Roberts, Mr. Reliable, getting him involved in the offense too. But tonight, it seemed even just with 4 catches, it seemed like Carson Ryan played a massive role in this passing attack for BYU.
Yeah, definitely. We are live on the radio, both signals, 97.5, 1280 And then we're live on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. Anybody tuning in, feel free to leave us your thoughts on this one. And, if you want to tweet at us, at Esparza Sports, at Napoles Alex. Let's get some reaction going. It's a late night. Want to thank everybody for tuning in to get some Cougar talk, because these guys are rolling, and 9-1 on the year is crazy. And they are still, as you mentioned, in control of their own destiny, right? They don't have to rely on other teams losing. They don't have to rely on backdooring their way into anything. It's as simple as this, Alex. They got to win out from here. And if they do that, they'll be in the Big 12 championship game. And that's huge.
Win out from here, you're in that championship game. And then, of course, you set yourself up in a perfect position to make it into the playoff. And I think after the disappointment that was last season, right, the late collapse from BYU, first of all, right, it's great that you don't have to, we're not talking about this, it being a loss for BYU, right, because that possibility was floated, it was in the air. How do you respond after a loss last season, right? They responded with their first loss. After their first loss, they responded with a loss to Arizona State. And so this season, leaving no doubt, putting up 44 points against this TCU team, holding them to just 13, which I think is probably the bigger story, right? That defense continues to show up and show out. And of course, you avoid the late 2-game skid that ultimately, I think, left BYU out of the playoff last season.
Yeah, because they had to rely on a tiebreaker scenario that ultimately did not go their way last year. And like we said, they keep winning out. You don't have to rely on that. Right now, you only have one conference loss. And same with Texas Tech. Everybody else in the conference has at least 2. And as we talked about in the Ute postgame show, there's a lot of teams piling up with 2 conference losses. So if you can keep your head above the water there, you're looking good, right? But again, phenomenal bounce back really from this Cougar offense that could not do anything a week ago versus Texas Tech. And for as bad as Aaron Roderick's play calling was last week, I thought he was back in his bag tonight, man. I thought he was doing phenomenal things with this defense, with this offense going against the TCU defense. And it certainly helps when you're not going against David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez. I truly believe that those 2 players single-handedly won that game for Texas Tech. That's how great they are. The 2 of the best players in the country, not just at their positions, but overall, like those 2 dudes are, I can't talk enough about how good they are. So everybody's going to struggle against that Texas Tech defense. And when you're not playing against them, I mean, BYU has 9 wins when they're not playing against them. And BYU's offense looks really good when they're not playing against them. So they even brought it up on the broadcast, right? Like this team wants to rematch that Texas Tech team. And this isn't the post-game show for Tech, right? We all know how that game went. Obviously, BYU lost it for themselves early with mistakes. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because they have looked so good against everybody else. So they feel like if they can get a rematch against Tech and not shoot themselves in the foot early, they do have the firepower to make it a game.
Absolutely. And it was on full display tonight. And I think one of the things that stuck out to me earlier this one, Christian, is the fact that BYU didn't have to claw back into this one. It was becoming a reoccurring theme, and it was becoming a reoccurring situation where BYU was down multiple scores. They had to find their way. They had to find their ways back into games. And in this one, right from the get-go, you start off with the field goal on your first drive. You're up 3-0. And then, of course, the very next drive for BYU, you go down, you score the touchdown, you're up 10-0, and you're not playing from behind. You're not chasing points. Like I said, from the get-go, BYU is in control.
Yeah, and looking through, the game log here, obviously Iowa State was a comeback win. Utah, I'm pretty sure, was up at one point. I don't think they had a huge lead by any means, but Arizona, BYU was down 2 scores. West Virginia, they played solid. Colorado, they were down 2 scores. So great point, Alex. Like most of their big wins this season, they have had to fight and scratch and claw back. But tonight at home, back in Provo, haven't been in Provo in a bit since the Utah win. They control it from the first possession. And really it got to you were up 27-10 at halftime.
Yeah.
And even then it was like, I don't think TCU can come into this one and come back. Like They controlled this one from the get-go.
Yes. I wanted to give Josh Hoover some credit coming into this one. I do think Hoover is a good quarterback. I just don't know if he has the talent around him to really get the best out of Josh Hoover. And I wanted to give Josh Hoover the benefit of the doubt coming into this game, and maybe he was going to be able to show something against BYU. But the reality is that defense, man, it's suffocating, and they played really, really well against a good quarterback.
I mean, McAllister is a stud.
Yeah.
It was weird. They kind of got into a little spat there on the sideline. And that, I mean, you've got a dominant receiver, and he's going to want the ball. He only had 4 catches tonight. He did put up over 100 yards. Honestly, late in the game, there was a play where he should have had a touchdown, and it looked like he tried to slow up and make a one-handed catch and draw the PI. I felt like, where if he would have kept running, he would have had a touchdown. I don't know. Anyways, holding Hoover to 10 of 23, under 50%. You held him to under 200 yards. He had 183, and you pick him off twice. This was, you talk about basically Sorsby, Robertson, and Hoover are the 3 best passers in this conference, and they're all guys that were returning this year and expected to have big seasons, and they have so far. So you got to give a lot of credit to BYU's defense for shutting Hoover down because he was basically a non-factor today. He did not have the game that the Horned Frogs needed him to have in order to be in this one.
No, definitely not. Massive credit to BYU's defense. Falatal Satawala does it again, man. 3rd interception of the season. The sophomore, again, I want to emphasize he is a sophomore. He's going to continue to grow. He's going to continue to get better. And he's one of those guys on that defense that I'm just really, really excited for. Shows has another INT tonight. And again, we don't ever really talk about Tanner Wall, but he's having a tremendous season. And Tanner Wall, of course, has the pick 6 for that BYU defense.
I'm so glad you bring up Falatal Satawala. I told you I had some hot takes. This is one of them.
Oh, okay.
I'm not crazy enough to say that he is BYU's best defensive player because that would be absurd. That's not true. Jack Kelly is a stud. He's a monster. But I think Satawala is at least the 2nd best player, tied with Isaiah Glasker.
Wow. Tied with Glasker.
Tied with Isaiah Glasker. I think it's a coin flip between those two. So I guess at worst, he is their 3rd best player in a really freaking good defense. And as you're saying, only a sophomore, right? A ton of room to grow. And Alex, I'm not kidding. The sky is the limit with this dude.
Yeah.
He has made so many big plays for this BYU defense. And not only are they big plays, but they are big plays when the defense needs them. And that takes a special type of player. Those are the dudes that they're just stars. They're stars. And you can tell that he is going to have a bright future, not only for BYU, but he's going to make an NFL team really happy in a couple of years, maybe even in 1 year. I wouldn't be surprised if he only has 1 year left at BYU and gets drafted after his junior season, because he is really good, and he has the ball skills and the instincts to be an impact player at the NFL level. So I think he's phenomenal. And BYU has done a great job developing him and bringing him in. And for as much talent that is on that BYU defense, I think he is, like I said, their 2nd or 3rd best player.
Absolutely. The sky truly feels like the limit for a guy like Falatal Satawala. Just a sophomore, he's going to continue to grow. He's going to continue to get better. And, it was already, that safety room for BYU already feels stacked. There is a lot of great players in that BYU safety room, right? You talk about a Raider Demooney, you talk about Satawala, you talk about even Tommy Prastis has come up and looked great at points. And then, of course, you can't forget about Tanner Wall. It's a stacked room. And so for a guy like Satawala, who as a sophomore kind of, breaks through the depth chart, is that guy that's come in and made these big plays. I think it's an absolute phenomenal story because of how much talent is already in that safety room. Yeah.
And to be honest with you, when they let Crew Wakely walk, I'm talking like it's NFL free agency, like they let him go because they didn't want to give him a scholarship. They said, look, dude, our safety room is stacked. Like you're saying, Alex, we've got a ton of guys in this room, and we've got this guy that can be a star. And we had heard some rumblings about what Satuala could do, but I mean, he is far exceeding anybody's expectations. And you're right. I mean, Raider Demooney and Tanner Wall alone are really, really good. But then you've got this dude who is a star in the making, and it makes a ton of sense why they were comfortable letting Wakely walk. And I was questioning it at the time because Wakely was really good for BYU. He did a lot of good things.
Yeah.
But man, Satuala is great, and I'm glad that he is doing the things he's doing. He's a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, I think it worked out exactly the way that, exactly that BYU wanted it to go. And it worked out exactly with Satuala emerging because he's truly a star in the making.
LJ Martin looking healthy, 21 carries, 88 yards, and a touchdown. 21 carries is actually more than I thought. He also added 4 catches for 34 yards. So over 100 total yards for LJ. And what is that? 25 total touches. I was thinking they were kind of be a little cautious with them, maybe 15 to 18 touches, but 25 makes me feel like they're confident, and he's confident in that shoulder injury that we know was an AC sprain. So, I think that's a really good sign. Not 100 yards rushing, but 100 yards total.
Yeah.
Solid performance from LJ. Pretty good TCU front. Sorry to cut you off.
Good.
This is a TCU front that we were talking about this morning. I think they were third in the conference in rushing yards allowed. So
third of the conference at stopping the run, which is LJ Martin comes in, puts up 88. Disappointing he doesn't get the 100, which is fine. You still win the game, but I think more importantly, it doesn't look like LJ Martin, right? There was concern after he went out of that Iowa State game. There was concern that it was going to be something long-term. It was going to be something that was going to keep him sidelined for a little bit. But I think it's really, really great news for BYU and that offense that LJ Martin looks as good as he is, considering the scare that he had a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, leaving the game is never a good sign. And then considering how ineffective he looked last week against Texas Tech, it was like, oh, what does this mean for the rest of the year for LJ? Like, because again, with no Sione Moa and the inexperience behind LJ, like this running back room is scary if LJ Martin were to be inactive, right? So to have him back and to feel comfortable with giving him the ball 25 times in key situations, that's huge. And then Bear, 10 carries for 59 yards and the touchdown on the ground.
Does it again, man.
Does it again. And shout out to Alma letting us know. Let's see. He has the most games with a passing and rushing touchdown this season out of all players in FBS.
That's amazing.
That's something special right there.
That's amazing because, people at this point of the season, it sometimes gets lost, but this kid didn't go through spring training, right?
Yes.
This kid didn't go. He wasn't with the program until after that spring portal, but yet he's been able to come in and he seems like a phenomenal fit for Aaron Roderick. He seems like a phenomenal fit for this offense. And he goes out and he has these type of performances. To think that he's only going to grow from this. He's only going to get better. 296 through the air, adds that 59 on the ground, has the touchdown, has the passing touchdown. There's not enough positive things that can be said about your true freshman quarterback coming in and leading you to a 9-win season so far.
Yeah, and that rushing touchdown was awesome because how many times have they run that the speed option, I guess the pitch option with Bear and LJ? And I want to say like 90% of the time he pitches that. And a lot of those times that he does pitch it, it's kind of a bad decision because LJ will get hit like right after he catches the pitch, right? But today they run that on the 17-yard line and Bear kind of fakes the pitch and the safety bit so hard on it and Bear was wide open into the end zone. And they actually did run the same play later and he did end up pitching it to LJ. But that's the threat that you run with Bear Bachmeier and LJ. When you have both of those guys out there, people are so worried about LJ Martin because he is one of the best running backs in this conference. And then you have your 6'5", 240-pound quarterback that can I mean, he's not agile. He's not going to juke anybody out of their shoes, but he's like a rhino. Like once they start running, they can't stop. Like that's Bear Bachmeier. So when you've got those two dudes running the speed option, it takes some setup, but once you get it locked in, it's a really good play.
We talked about it this morning too, a little bit about just how much or how important both of these guys are to what BYU does offensively, right? You go back to that game last week a little bit, whether or not LJ was 100% and ready to roll, he just didn't get enough carries, didn't get enough rushing yards. Bear Bachmeier was really limited in what he did in the run game. But tonight it looked a lot different, right? Bear Bachmeier looked a lot more comfortable running that ball. And so did LJ, man. And so I think that's coming down the stretch in a situation where, again, you control your destiny and you control kind of where things shake out for the rest of the conference. I think that bodes really well for this offense. It's a great bounce back. It's good to see both of those guys running the ball again, because I think that is the key to unlocking this BYU offense.
And they needed it. I mean, we can't emphasize that enough, how badly they needed this performance tonight, because it very easily could have turned into a snowball effect again, like we saw last season, where the losses compound, or you lose a game that is understandable, but then you drop a game that you really should not have dropped. And it was a very real threat of happening tonight, losing to TCU, but they hold strong at home. They perform and they come out with the win.
They do what they've done all season, man. The defense clamps down. You got the rock behind you in that raucous environment, and they make it it's an incredibly difficult place to play. Massive shout out to all the BYU fans out there tonight. Vampire Cougs is a real thing.
Yeah,
you don't want to play in that stadium in the dark, under the lights, and so they go out and they show that prowess, man. It starts with what they were able to do, clamping down on the defensive side of the ball, and of course, getting Bear Bachmeier some confidence back under his feet.
Really efficient night from BYU as a whole. Excuse me. They 6 of 12 on third down, 2 of 3 on fourth down, and I'm pretty sure they had 25 first downs in just the first half. So that is really awesome.
You know what's even more awesome, Christian?
What's that?
1 of 10 third down efficiency for TCU.
Yeah, they were bad.
They were bad, but again, it's credit to that defense, man. Being able to clamp down Josh Hoover, not allowing him to get anything going really outside of McAllister, and forcing him to be uncomfortable. He looked, for a veteran quarterback, right? A quarterback who we know is really good at throwing the ball in this conference. They made him uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Really uncomfortable. He had again 10 of 23. Let's see. We got some comments. Want to get to those. Zach Decker chiming in on X. Woo, go Cougs. I like it. Nice on YouTube, losing for life. Great all around game. And then followed up with the comment, need to fix the punting game. And I'm glad you bring this up, losing for life. I don't know what's better today. What's that?
Oh, I was just going to say, I don't know what's better, his comments or his username.
His username.
Yeah.
We saw a new punter today for BYU after Vanderhaar shanked twice last week. Man, Kalani Sitake was not happy about it in his Monday presser. He brought it up like 6 times. Clearly, he wasn't happy. Vanderhaar did not punt today. It was Shirts. I'm trying to pull up the punts. I think Shirts was only asked to punt twice. He only got one of them away. 41 yards. It was a pretty good kick. It was.
It was a good kick, yeah.
The first punt was good. The second punt, though, was a disaster. And I don't think it was a bad snap, but when he did because, you get some momentum and you drop the ball and kick it, right? But when he dropped it, he didn't swing his leg. He just dropped it on the ground.
I don't know. In that situation, I don't know if, through the peripheral visions, right, of what you're seeing, I don't know if he realized the pressure coming and he hesitated a little bit.
He just froze up or something.
That's what it looked like to me, man. It's just there was a runner coming off the edge for TCU, and so again, I don't know. I'm sure he saw that in his peripheral vision, and then had second thoughts about punting the ball because he literally just threw it up there and didn't follow through, didn't swing his leg. Look, I think it's a little harsh after just one bad performance, right, to completely bench Vanderhaar.
Yeah.
Because I mean he's been great the rest of the season.
He really has been.
I can't think of any other like massive mistakes. It's unfortunate, right? It's super unfortunate that it happens in your biggest game of the season.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little harsh that he got benched after just one bad performance. And obviously, you know, maybe throughout the week he's not punting well in practice, and so that probably also plays into that decision maybe. But just after one performance, right, to get benched, and I'm all for letting these other guys having those opportunities, because obviously in the future you're going to have your backup punter take over those punting duties. But to just bench Vanderhaar after one performance, interesting.
Well, I can tell you what, they're probably going back to Vanderhaar.
I would assume so. I would love to be a fly on the wall. Come, you know, film review on that play specifically. For the punter, because it's not going to be kind from Kelly Papinga.
Yeah.
You know, I was special teams. I've been around special teams my entire life, and you know, those are just mistakes you can't make.
No, you can't. And that's worse than shanking it. At least when you shank it, it goes 19 yards.
Right.
Instead of -4. So yeah, thank you at Losing for Life again for bringing that up. I did want to get to that. Again, anybody out there listening, whether you're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, or listening on the radio, feel free to chime in. Let us know your thoughts. We're not able to take calls like we traditionally have been able to on the radio. So if you have anything to say, drop us a comment, tweet at us at Esparza Sports, at Napoles Alex. Want to get some reaction in this one, 12:04. Got a lot of Coug fans staying up for this one. It's an exciting game, an exciting win, an exciting time to be a BYU fan. So I encourage anybody to give us some reaction, some thoughts on this one. But we got to take a break because we are on the radio. And then when we come back, we will continue to break down this one. Got a lot more to talk about. I thought Chase Roberts played really well. He didn't stuff the stat sheet, Alex, but he made some huge plays. So got to talk about that. And then as we await Kalani Sitake at the podium, hopefully we'll be able to play some of that. So stick with us. It's the Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
listening to the Cougar Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It is your Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles with me. We are breaking down this 44-13 BYU win over TCU. Alex, the Cougs bounce back after a tough loss last week. It's a much-needed win today for BYU, knocking on the door of another double-digit win season. 9-1 now for the Cougs. Looking really, really good. Of course, the big storyline coming into this one was how would Bear Bachmeier and the offense respond after frankly, performance last week where they didn't show up. They did not get off the bus in Lubbock, but today they got out of their beds, I guess, in Provo.
Marched into Lavelle Edwards, right? Look, man, I think first of all, too, you go back to all the comments you heard this week from the coaching staff, right? When it came to A-Rod, when it came to Kalani Sitake, really shouldering the blame for the loss, not trying to put it on Bear Bachmeier, not trying to put it on their offense. The coaches were trying to take that responsibility to make sure that those players, especially a young freshman like Bear Bachmeier, doesn't get in his head, doesn't get, let the loss get to him. And tonight he goes out, has a great performance and has a really, really good bounce back. Again, in a really, really crucial time for BYU. You're down to 2 games left of the season, and your whole destiny is laid out in front of you. It's win out, and you're into the Big 12 championship game. But obviously, there's still a lot of football left to be played.
And Alex, I'm not surprised that he didn't let the blowout loss affect him. And that was a lot of people were really worried about that. A lot of people kind of had talked themselves into like, oh, he's gonna look bad the rest of the year because of that one blowout loss. But you look back at what Bear Bachmeier has done this entire year, whether it's throwing an interception or fumbling the ball or missing a throw, he is so level-headed, and you'll hear it from Aaron Roderick. You'll hear it from Kalani Sitake. His highs are not high and his lows are not low. And that allows him to kind of just stay even and stay focused and stay level-headed and come back and respond the next play or the next drive, and in this scenario, the next game. And that's the first loss of his collegiate career. We didn't know how he would look after that, but the entire coaching staff was confident in him and his ability to kind of just shake it off and be like, yeah, it's a loss. We're not dead. Still got work to do. Yeah.
And I wonder too, as far as the fan reaction goes, I wonder how much too that stems from what you saw last season from this BYU team.
Right.
Obviously, they're led by a different quarterback this year, but there's a lot of players on that team that was on that team this year that was on that team last year. And they had those 2 late losses late last season that put him out of the playoff conversation and that put him out of the Big 12 championship conversation. And so, I think too, a win like this, right, a 44-13 win over TCU, I think also puts a little bit of ease into the fan base. There's a massive test coming up next week, absolutely, but I think there's a little bit more ease in the fan base where you're not having to worry about back-to-back losses like you did last season.
Yeah. And next week's going to be tough. I think I'm more worried about BYU getting too confident after this win and seeing that Cincinnati just lost to Arizona today, then I was worried about Utah coming out flat after the loss last week. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. It does, yes. But I think you're going to hear it all week, Christian. Humble and hungry.
Stay humble, stay hungry, baby.
Humble and hungry. This has been the mantra for this team under Kalani Sitake, and I promise you we're going to hear it at least 10 times this week in the Monday presser from Kalani.
Yeah.
We'll probably even hear it a couple times. We'll probably even hear it a couple times tonight during the post-game press conference, right? It's the reality is, though, it is massively important right now for BYU to stay humble, to stay hungry, because that is a massive test coming up. That ultimately, I think, with the way everything shook out today for this conference, I think ultimately will decide who makes it to that Big 12 championship game.
Yeah. Again, as long as BYU wins out, they don't have anything to worry about.
Yep.
So that's big. And We can talk a little bit about Cincinnati because Cincinnati just lost to the common opponent, right? Arizona. And that was a game that BYU had to kind of do everything in their power to win. And that was such a crazy game. If you remember, it was literally during a hurricane. Even though it was in Arizona, there was that hurricane that kind of affected that one. And there was a weather delay, and BYU did not score after that weather delay until late in the fourth quarter. And they had to force it into overtime. And I believe it went into double overtime. And that was a really hard game for the Cougs. And Arizona's not a bad football team. And today they caught Cincinnati in Cincinnati. And you look at other teams in the Big 12 with 2 conference losses, and they saw that Cincinnati loss, and they're like praying for BYU to win next week. Praying for BYU to lose next week to introduce some more chaos. But again, as long as BYU wins that game, they don't have anything to worry about.
I don't think so, no. And because, I don't want to chalk up a win here for BYU, but the reality is that UCF team is not good. So not to get too far ahead of ourselves, right? But there is a very, very high chance that obviously if you win Cincinnati, there is a high chance you'll probably be able to find your way through that UCF game. And then, of course, you'll find yourself in Arlington. And I think that's best case scenario if you're for those BYU fans, especially the ones who had to endure last season, just falling short of what could have been a great season.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so tough. Back-to-back double-digit win seasons, but not being able to meet your goals would be tough. But man, if the Cougs can go 11-1 throughout the regular season, that would be crazy. If you would have said that to me when the Jake Retzlaff news dropped, I would have called you crazy to your face. I'm sorry, dude. I would have called you a nut.
No, and I think honestly, it'd be, maybe we'll do for next College Football Saturday, Christian, we'll put out a poll. We'll put out a poll and see kind of where BYU fans felt coming into this season, because the reality was, there was a lot of confidence with Jake Retzlaff returning. There was a lot of confidence that BYU was going to have the season that they're having now. But then obviously that news happens. Yes. Jake Retzlaff leaves the program. Then there's doubt. Doubt creeps in, right? You're starting a true freshman quarterback. We'll see, we'll see how it goes. But ultimately, you're still on track to do everything that you wanted to accomplish this season. And so massive kudos, man, to A-Rod, to Kalani, to that coaching staff. Because they took what could have been an impossible situation, right, with a true freshman, inexperienced quarterback coming in, and they've turned it into a 9-1 season
so far with 2 games left. Right. Yeah, if you would have told me after the Alamo Bowl that BYU would potentially go 11-1, I'd be like, oh yeah, that checks out. This is a really good team returning a lot of talent. But then
you return almost everyone from last season, right? All the key players from last season, yeah.
Or you have, like we brought up earlier, players like Crew Wakely leave, and then you've got Satawala stepping up in his place and becoming a star right before our eyes. So yeah, if you would have told me that after beating Colorado in the Alamo Bowl, I wouldn't have thought that was crazy at all. But then after the April whatever day, when that story about Jake Retzlaff comes out, and it's like, oh, they're lucky to be bowl eligible. Like, that's ridiculous. They're not winning 11 football games, and then here we are. And again,
they are, man.
2 wins short. Like, there's still 2 games left to play, and I don't want to hand them any wins. But that is very attainable. It is very attainable.
It is very attainable, but there is a massive road test coming up, and so
yes,
we'll dive into that more a little bit here. But I do want to backtrack a little bit and go back to our comments earlier about Vanderhaar.
Okay.
Just a tweet that I came across while we were on break. It looks like he is hurt, and that is
really
that per Kalani Sitake, it probably explains some of his shanks from last week.
Interesting. So that's coming out from the post-game presser
from today. Yes.
Okay.
Because we're only carry a couple minutes of it. I don't know if we'll get to it, but
we will have it posted on the podcast.
We will have it posted, but I think that brings in a little bit more clarity into the Vanderhaar situation, because it was tweeted pregame, right? And it was a conversation Kalani had with Greg Wrubell on the radio portion of their pregame, right? Mm-hmm. Where he mentioned that Vanderhaar was not going to be punting tonight. It was going to be shirts. It was going to be the backup punter who was going to get the starting nod. He would be taking care of those punting duties. And then Kalani follows that up here now in the postgame press conference, saying it was his kicking leg that was hurt a week ago, and it probably explains some of his shanks.
I didn't see him on the availability reports.
He was not.
I don't know, man. This whole thing is a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, I guess. Shirts probably shouldn't be punting again after what he did tonight. I'm sorry to the kid, but hopefully whatever is allegedly ailing Vanderhaar, hopefully he can be back next week. That is, I don't know. These availability reports have been a complete and utter failure. And
they tell you everything and nothing at the same time.
Oh, they don't tell you anything at all. Yeah.
I mean, everything in the sense of like, there are teams who, there are coaches who will hide that as much information as possible, even though it's not required for that to be out there.
It's crazy. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm not trying to accuse Kalani of anything. I just, if he was hurt, why are we just hearing now after a game where he didn't play? You could have easily just said, oh yeah, he was benched because he shanked 2 punts.
Right.
You didn't have to say, oh, he was injured and that's why he shanked 2 punts. You don't need to bring that up at all. You can just leave it at the fact that, yeah, he shanked 2 punts. And maybe he's just trying to, because the backup punter did so poor, maybe he's trying to say, oh, that's why we held out Vanderhaar, is because he was hurt. So I don't know. We'll see what comes throughout the week from that. But that is a good find there. That's thanks for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
Interesting. I want to talk about Chase Roberts. He didn't have the flashiest game through the air. He had 5 catches for 50 yards, but he's a type of player that on 4th down, you look and find Chase Roberts. I'm looking through my notes. I lost it. I think it was a 17-yard completion to Chase Roberts on a 4th down. It's just one of those plays where the down and distance, that you need to pick up the first, and you find your leader, you find the dude with the C on his chest, and he just makes these crazy catches where he's falling and he extends his long arms out and hauls in the football.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to have because he is by far the most underrated receiver in the league. I mean, a ton of these guys, Jordan Tyson gets talked about a lot from Arizona State. McAllister from TCU has been talked about a lot. Baylor's got a couple of guys who had big games today, but it feels like nobody nationally talks about Chase Roberts.
Yeah.
And he has had a few 100-yard games this season, but then he's had a couple quote unquote quieter games like today where unless you're watching, you don't realize how big of an impact he makes. And I know that Bear Bachmeier is thankful that he's got Chase Roberts to throw to because he is an absolute stud. And I just wanted to bring him up because I think he deserves his flowers every single Saturday.
100%. And, you look at the other receivers in this league and you brought up Jordan Tyson. And I think, I don't think it'd be crazy to have a conversation to put Chase Roberts, in a similar light, in a similar level as a guy like Jordan Tyson. I just don't think he gets that recognition. I don't know. I don't know if it's a brand thing. I don't know if it's because it is BYU, because he plays for BYU, and because there was the questions at quarterback coming this season. I don't know if how much that plays into him not being able to get that national attention, that national spotlight. But he 100% deserves it. Unfortunate that pass that he caught was out of bounds on that pass interference.
Yeah.
Because it was such a great sideline catch, but he did come in from out of bounds.
Yeah, unfortunately, he did step out. That was again another crazy catch, and it's not looking like he's going to hit 1,000 yards this year. I don't know. He's at 652 with 2 games left, so I guess he could stack a couple of monster games. But again, with the quarterback thing, that's definitely holding him back. And, not to discredit Bear at all, but that's just the way it is. And the type of player that he is. Then you got to remember, like, Bear Bachmeier felt like he didn't even throw the football in their first game and a half. Right.
Right.
And they kind of had to ease Bear Bachmeier into this system So it took a few games until Bear really felt comfortable throwing to Chase Roberts. And again, Chase has had some big performances, but he's not going to have the, if people are just box score watching, it's not like, oh my gosh, this guy had 7 100-yard games. He's a first-round pick. Like it's not like that. But when you watch the games, when you see what he does and what he is for Bear Bachmeier and Aaron Roderick in this offense, you kind of realize like he's a true leader and he's reliable. And that's exactly what you need when you have a true freshman at quarterback. So wanted to give him a shout out. And I hope he finishes the season strong.
I hope so too. Because one, I think you'll absolutely need him down the stretch.
Yeah.
To win out these games, and to be able to make it to that championship game. But two, because I think he just deserves that recognition. Coming into this season, he came back to finish. He had unfinished business. He could have moved on. He could have gone to the NFL. He could have, tested his water or tested his skills at the next level, but instead decides to come back for one more year, run it back, finish what he started. And, it's interesting. The highest game where he's, his highest receptions so far has been Iowa State with just 8. But you have a couple games in there where he's just been, 5 receptions, a couple of 4 reception games, a couple of another 5, another 6. Yeah. So, I mean, he's not receiving the ball in volume, but when he does, he makes big plays.
And where BYU is so good on the ground, they're not going to throw it 30 times a game. I think Bears only had 2 games this year where he's thrown it 30 times. So, there are going to be some games where he has quieter stat lines, but he's good. And we got to bring up Parker Kingston too, leading the team in receiving yards tonight, 80 yards on 5 catches. Again, had the killer muff last week on the punt, but I think he's been an absolute revelation for BYU offensively. And I think he's had a handful of games this year, probably like 3 or 4 where he's led BYU in receiving. So that's kind of a surprise coming into this year, but he's been looking really, really good.
Yes, and you're also now you're continuing to ease JoJo Phillips back into the thick of it.
Yeah,
just had 2 catches for 33 yards, but the couple times I want to say it was the second one where he goes the 18 yards. Looks great, looks speedy, looks shifty, and so I'm excited to see if they can unlock JoJo Phillips here before the end of the year.
Speaking of looking great, we got a special guest joining us right now. We got Alex Curie joining live from LES. Alex, what are the vibes down there at the field, man?
I don't know if they had some extra fireworks that they hadn't set off yet, but they just set off some extra ones. I don't know. It was like the fire code. They're like, we got to get rid of these. So
you mean with 44 points put up and they that wasn't enough for all the fireworks?
No, I know. I don't know what the deal was, but it was an extra something that the fans got. I mean, the 178 people that are still left inside the stadium that really like that. So it was, it was, hey, look, people, it's a good vibe right here. I mean, this is when all the family members are milling around and kind of waiting for, their guys to come out and say hey, and there's kids waiting around, waiting for Tiger and Bear to sign some stuff. And so, it's good vibes right now for BYU fans, obviously, after a night like tonight.
Kerry, what did you think of Bear bouncing back after last week's performance tonight? 23 of 33, 296 yards and a touchdown through the air. Also added 59 yards and a touchdown on the ground.
What did I tell you guys yesterday? It was 62. I was like, I want to see 62 rushing yards from him.
Yeah,
and you were very specific. It was a very different guy. And Kalani actually brought it up in his post game. It's something that we can listen to, obviously, after everything's kind of said and done here. But it was kind of interesting because he brought it because he practiced different. He was a different guy at practice, which I thought was a cool insight, into that, to say, hey, he practiced different, he prepared differently, and this was a much different outcome than what they could have had, which was come out flat. TCU, I don't know where they're at as a team right now, except for I think they came in and Kalani brought up that he had talked to Sonny Dykes, the head coach of TCU, before the game, and they just had chatted about how the season has gone and how crazy it is and how talented people are. And Josh Hoover showed moments, it was just like that. But BYU's defense was prepared, but more importantly, I think BYU, they had their best defense. I think tonight was that offense, just holding the ball as much as they did. I mean, the time of possession, they just absolutely grinded it out, and TCU could never get anything going. And it was just, so I think the thing that he did well this week was he went back to not making mistakes. A-Rod, I think his play calling was really great to keep Bear right where he was. And you know what really worked? It was L.J. Martin with some rushing yards that you didn't see him getting last week. He was getting chunk yardage. And even when they came out in the second half and they held TCU to that first field goal on that drive, and then as soon as they hand the ball off to L.J. Martin, 10 yards, 9 yards, and so those chunk plays, I think, really helped. And being able to hold on to the ball as long as they did, I think was the reason that their defense was able to kind of keep those points low as well.
BYU goes 7 straight drives with scores. A couple of them help the field goals, but they do go 7 straight, and obviously put up the massive lead over TCU. How important is that, man? Just for that confidence of that team after coming off basically a week where they were unable to move that ball against the Texas Tech defense.
Yeah, that was brought up in the post game too, for that same reason. It's like when you're able to score on all those drives, and if you look at them all too, they're 58 yards, 77 yards, 90 yards. That 91-yard drive, there was 10 plays. I said it in the press box. I said that was their best offensive drive, I think, of the season. That 10-yard or that 10-play, 91 yards, like 7.5 minutes. They controlled that whole section of the game, and it was just that they always talk. I mean, they talked about it less this year. The ability to be able to go, like, win the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third quarter. And I think they did both of those things really well. I think the way you do it is being able to hold the ball like that. But yeah, they consistently got first downs. I don't know what the number was. If you look at the stats, I'm sure they just kept converting on first downs. And even when they give up some chunk plays to TCU, they just sort of held serve a little bit and made sure that they didn't make much out of it. What's crazy is TCU got 1 touchdown. They got 2 field goals. They got 1 touchdown. And even the backups at the end, fired themselves up and got things going for BYU. So it was good night, I think, for that young defense, for the young defensive guys that they were able to get sacks even at the end. Kalani was super excited about those guys because he knows they're going to make an impact on the program, I think, going forward.
I don't know if it's the mustache or what, but Carson Ryan has become a fan favorite for BYU. How loud did it get when he scored that 43-yard touchdown on the catch and run?
Yeah, I mean, and it helps that you run it into this end of the stadium too. This is like the south end zone right here, where all the students are. I think that they actually like scoring on this end just for that very reason, because I called them the must. I mean, look at me, I'm gonna get
dump.
Yeah, the rock of that. So anytime they score right here, like in this end zone, it's huge, and it was massive today. And I liked that they kind of lined up Carson Ryan out wide. They weren't necessarily putting him on that traditional on the line for a tight end. They had him lined up in the slot, lined up a little further out, and I think that kind of that was a little different of a look, I think, for TCU, and so it made a difference, I think, in that sense. And so he just made a bigger impact in the game. They converted first downs with him. They obviously had that big touchdown with him too. So he had a big game. I think it was close to his career high in catches, and it was a good night for him.
It's great to see him get involved back into the offense. I felt like the last couple of weeks he wasn't necessarily as involved as much as he was in the earlier parts of the season, but good to see him back. But want to switch things over to the defensive side of the ball and focus on a guy like Falatal Satuala, man. I feel like we're just scratching the surface with this kid's potential. He's just a sophomore, comes up with another big interception. I believe it's his 3rd of the season. What do you see from Falatal, man?
So on that particular play, Kalani's the kind of guy that wears his feelings on his sleeve anyway. But that play was the most excited he was the entire game, because it was, in the first half, BYU dominated on the point side of things, on the yardage side of things, time of possession, all that stuff. They were pushing everybody out. But, there's that part too where they just have that. And for Kalani especially, he just wants to get he wants to get that pick. He wants to get those. He wants to get the turnovers. Some of it's just so Jay will get off his back, I think. And I think that's part of it is that it gets him off of his back a little bit. So there was that, and then Tanner's pick 6, obviously. But Satuala is a different level. It helps. We watch that guy play at Bountiful, right? And so having that type of that background as a wide receiver, he was as dominant. You guys remember he was as dominant as a wide receiver as he was as anything. And so it was really cool for him in that moment, because that was their number one wide receiver all night. And the ball went kind of like straight through his hands, and the better catch was made by the defender. And, Satuala kind of fired it up, and it made it to where then the game was really unattainable for TCU, I think, going forward. Everybody's cheering for Bear, by the way, as he's coming off the field. That's why you heard the cheers.
I was curious.
Right there.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask if it was Bear or Cosmo.
No. That's 100% Bear, and like all his family's here too. Like, so Bear and Tiger, like, he's signing things. He just accepted a Rice Krispie treat as an offering from a fan.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'd have done the same thing. So it's part of the deal. So,
turning the page, Alex, this BYU team's got to go on the road, face a Cincinnati team that just lost today, but they were ranked coming in top 25 in the country. We know they're a dangerous team. Is there any worry about how tough that game's going to be?
Going to Cincinnati is never going to be easy. Did you see Bear walk by here? He's gonna walk in. There's the man of the hour right there. He's signing a lot of stuff over there on the way out of the stadium, and people are asking him to sign a bunch.
That's awesome, man.
So for Cincinnati, and Kalani brought that up too. They were like, "Hey, man, Cincinnati, you got to go there." He's like, "That's going to be hard," but they throw the ball around a lot, and they feel really good about this defensive backfield. Like, they throw the ball a lot. That's what their superpower is. And they're banged up in the running back room. I'll tell you who's not banged up is BYU right now. Like, that was a big thing that LJ Martin brought up in the postgame as well. He's just like, I'm feeling good. I wasn't even that injured last week. I just didn't have the confidence that I had this week. And so I think you're going to see a Cincinnati team who's going to see this on film and go, we got to figure this out, because these guys play really, really solid defense.
Last one for me, Alex, real quick. Waylon Lockbaugh gets a little bit baked up. Any worry on Waylon's status?
He said that he wasn't too banged up, but you never know.
Oh, hey, look who it is.
Look at that little cameo.
What's up, guys?
Hey, Jay Catch.
What did he say about Waylon? He said he wasn't too banged up.
Yeah.
That could also mean by the middle of the week that might say he's out the rest of it. Who knows?
He made it sound like had they needed it in this game, or if it was maybe a little bit closer, they probably would have put him back in the game. But he said the rotation was strong enough and they had that game in control. They decided we're just going to rest him at this point and just let him heal up a little bit. So it sounded like it was relatively minor, but to Alex's point, it could change by midweek. Absolutely.
Look at that. That's awesome, man. We got a
tag team appearance, man.
Let's go. Tag team interview.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get in trouble in a minute here. Yeah.
No, we'll cut you loose.
I'm gonna go send audio to you guys. So I'll see you guys in a minute.
There you go.
Thanks, Satch. Yeah, and Kiri, thank you for jumping on, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
getting
you bet,
live
guys.
from the stadium. So
yep, you guys got Kalani in your inbox there for everybody to listen to here. So.
Yep, we'll get to him shortly.
Okay.
Thanks, Kiri. See ya.
Thanks, Alex.
There you go. That is Alex Kiri. You can hear him, of course, 3 to 7. And Jay Catch.
And Jay Catch.
Yeah, look at that. A lot of star power right there in one frame from the that's like BYU media royalty right there.
I know, right?
Together.
I know.
You know what? They actually, that's our job last year. Hatch and Kiri were doing the post-game show for how long before they handed it down to us. So it's like the old gen and the new gen right there.
So it's a nice little full circle pass the baton moment. Loved it.
Really appreciate those guys jumping on, and it's cool to be get some shots down there from LES. Hopefully we don't get in trouble for that.
Especially when you have Mr. Bear Bachner walking in the background.
Yeah, and
man,
for anybody wondering, no, Kiri can't just put the phone in his face and ask him to hop on. We have to go through some hoops to get. It
would be absolutely amazing if he could.
That would be cool, but we can't do it.
Yeah, we can't.
Getting him walking in the background is about as much as we could ever ask for. Let's take another quick break, Alex, and then we'll wrap this thing up next, including hearing a little bit of Kalani Sitake. So we'll hit that, but first we got to hit a quick break. Want to remind anybody, if you have any thoughts, chime in, please. Facebook, YouTube, X. We've had some comments so far. Love the fan reaction. Want to get to it. Want to thank everybody staying up with us and tuning in. So if you have anything to say, let us know in the comments or tweet at us at Esparza Sports, at Napoles Alex. But yeah, we'll take a quick break and be back in a couple minutes. Stay with us. It's the Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
You're listening to the Cougar Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. BYU picking up the win over TCU, 44-13. Want to thank everybody for tuning in this late. It's a late one. It's another late one, Alex. We have had several times throughout the year. It's nothing new to us. We love to be here. But without further ado, let's get to Kalani Sitake, hear a little bit of what he had to say at the podium. Again, just a reminder, because of broadcast guidelines, we can only play a couple minutes of his post-game presser. Can't play the full thing, but we will have it posted wherever you get your podcasts. It's called Brigham Young University Sound. Go find it. We'll have the full thing posted there, as well as the players.
And subscribe
if you're not already. Yeah. Thanks, Alex. Thank you. So let's get to Kalani Sitake.
Great game. Really proud of the guys and proud of the way they bounced back, especially from last week. I felt like there was a different sense of urgency from them all week long in the prep. And so I'm glad that it all worked out. And, TCU is a really good team. I think it was just a matter of us putting it all together in all three phases. I think it worked out nicely, and it felt good. This game felt like I've been asking us to do this the whole time, so it's my job to get them to play this way every game. But I'm glad that it showed up now, especially in November, where we can try to build some momentum off of it. So, just talked to Sonny before the game and everything, and just Big 12's crazy, So around this time, you got to be ready to play at the end. And we saw a lot of the games in college football, how close they were, and so it was just nice being in control of this one. And just really proud of the guys overall. Proud of the coaches. I thought they worked really hard too, and I thought it was a really good game plan in all three phases. Not perfect enough, but we'll take the win. But there's a lot of room for improvement still, and we'll just get to work. But right now, we got to celebrate it and got to praise the guys for what they were able to get done. So, what questions do you guys have for me?
When you bring up the game plan, what were the areas of focus this week offensively, kind of bouncing back from last week?
Yeah, offensively, I felt like it was just good to let Bear throw the ball, and you don't always have to max pro for him. I think let the tackles block, and let the we threw the ball in a lot of different ways, play action, but also we're able to just do some drop back pass and just open the playbook. Just let us do our thing and mix in the run too. But I felt like we were just trying to do whatever we took to get points on the board and keep the first downs. That's a lot of first downs, and so it was good to put it all together and then taking care of the football. I was really pleased with how our offense did that, but it just felt like that's what we're capable of doing. We just got to keep the momentum going and get into next week.
Why you scored as an offense on your first 7 drives, didn't punt until the fourth quarter. How pleased were you with the efficiency and what you feel like kind of keep that efficiency from inconsistency from drive to drive?
Yeah, I thought just having, it helps when you win first down, So even though I think some of the first downs were just a 3-yard gain, it's okay. And then you just build off of that. I like that the guys played pretty disciplined. I don't know how many penalties we got, but 2 penalties. I think one was the PI at the end on our backup, and then the other one was a hold, I think, on Jada on the fly sweep. So other than that, the guys played pretty clean and not a lot of MAs on all 3 phases. The guys played pretty good. We can some really good things if everyone plays clean football.
There you go. That is Kalani Sitake speaking with the media a little bit following their 44-13 win over TCU. Biggest thing in this one, Alex, there are a lot of big things, right? It's a blowout win, frankly, for BYU, but taking care of the football. Your only turnover in this game comes late in the game when you're already blowing the doors off of them. And then you had 2 takeaways, including a pick 6. So that's going to lead to a lot of victories when you win the turnover battle. And I know it's cliche, but there's a reason that every single coach hammers that into their team. Take care of the freaking football. You're going to win some games.
Absolutely. And I think in a perfect world, you want that number to be 0. You want that number to, you don't want to turn the ball over, but In this one, it comes off that punt. And then, of course, you're able to be opportunistic on the defensive side of the ball, get two picks, including one to the house from Tanner Wall. You're able to take away the ball and be ball hawks the way that this BYU defense is, and you're able to turn the ball over the way that this BYU defense does. You're going to win a lot of football games, and obviously that's reflected on the 9-1 record on the season.
It's crazy. I mean, Kerry brought it up a little bit. This might be the best defensive backfield that BYU's had in a very, very long time, especially because BYU is not known for their corners and safeties.
And you know what, man? There was one person at the beginning of the season who said that, and I think it just took time for people to believe him. But now I think there's no doubt that people believe him. That was Jay Hill. Jay Hill from the beginning said that was his that was probably his best cornerback room that he's ever had. However, the least experienced is how he put it.
Interesting.
And now we're seeing that, he was right, man. Credit to Jay Hill and what he's able to do with this defense and what he's been able to do all season long. And throughout his time so far with BYU, it's been a short time so far, but the defense has taken massive steps of improvement since his arrival.
I thought you were going to say it was Alex Napoles that said that.
No. I would never give myself that much credit. Come on.
Oh, come on. You gotta toot your own horn.
No, it was Jay Hill. I remember, we were sitting there cutting up audio. Someone was cutting up audio, and I was going through the cuts, and that was one that Jay Hill had during fall. I believe it was fall camp, where he talked about his cornerback room. It wasn't experienced, but he said it was probably one of the best, if not the best.
I believe it now. And again, like BYU, I mean, it's kind of been like a joke, right? That they have been so bad at corner traditionally. That's just how it's been. And obviously Utah had been putting so many defensive backs in the NFL. So there was always that kind of, twist in the wrinkle of the rivalry or whatever. But this year, I mean, I feel like BYU's defensive backfield has been better than Utah's. And it's kind of crazy to say that.
And is that because of what we just saw today from Utah?
It certainly doesn't help.
No, it certainly doesn't. It certainly doesn't. But when you have a guy like Satuala making plays, when you got Tanner Wall making plays, Maury Bamba making plays,
Johnson on that blitz, man, with the sack.
Yep,
that was awesome.
Alexander also making big plays all the time, man. There's a lot of talent in that backfield, and you're seeing it in full display week in, week out.
Yeah, this is a crazy talented defense, and it's no surprise that they are dominating.
Yeah, and I'll go back to a comment too Mitch Harper made at the beginning of the season, and he said this was probably the best defense Kalani's had, certainly the best Jay Hill's had, but probably the best in the Kalani Sadaka era, and they're living up to it, man. They're living up to it.
Appreciate what you have, man. Appreciate what you have.
100%.
Jay Hill has done a phenomenal job, and unfortunately for BYU fans, fortunately for Jay Hill, I would be absolutely shocked if he is still at BYU in the spring. That's the college football world right now.
There's a lot of openings. There's a lot of openings right now, man.
There are.
His name's going to be floated around in a good chunk of those, a good handful of those, and so we'll see what happens. But I think he's absolutely earned the right to be a head coach at the FBS level.
It's interesting because I mean that first year at BYU, the defense was bad, and there was kind of that thought of just give him a second to. This is a really, really hard system to learn, and once these guys get the system down, they're going to be great. And
he said it. I remember making those cuts. This is the hardest. This is a really hard defensive scheme to learn, and now you're getting guys who are comfortable in it, who are learning it, and you see it paying off, man.
And now we're in year 3, and some of it has been some transfers, right? He's taken some players that he had at Weber State, like Jack Kelly, right? And these guys have come in, and then everybody else has kind of picked up the system. And in just 3 years, they've gone from probably one of the worst units in the Big 12 to one of the best units in the Big 12 and making big plays when it matters. And Jay Hill's made himself a lot of money, whether that is at another school or sticking around at BYU. He's done a great job these last couple of years. So, again, appreciate what you have, man. Only a couple games here for BYU. Jay has been great.
Absolutely.
Love to do this, man. Offensive, defensive MVP. Who you got?
I'll start defensive MVP. I'll go Tanner Wall. I'll go Tanner Wall for the pick six. I know we gave a lot of love to Falatas Hatawala earlier in the show, man, but Tanner Wall is just a guy that I think he flies under the radar, right? He's never really going to pop in the box score, but he does a lot of work on the defensive side of the ball to make this team successful. Today, that pays, the fruits of his labor pays off. He gets the pick six. Tanner Wall, defensive MVP for me. And then I think offensive, I'm going to go Carson Ryan, man.
Oh, yeah, dude. The mustache.
Oh, yeah. Purely off the mustache.
That was interesting what Kiri was saying about, specifically scoring in that end zone. But that catch and run, I don't know how many tight ends in the country could make that play that Carson Ryan did. That was an incredibly athletic play that you don't see from a tight end very often. The catch and run, and he's breaking tackles and diving into the end zone. Like, that is the type of thing that you want when you're playing at home, because the stadium just loses their minds.
Yeah.
And again, with a player like Carson Ryan, where the fans just love him, they eat him up, and every kid wants a mustache now. He's great. He's awesome.
He is awesome. And, you heard the stadium pop on the TV. Again, shout out to the fans. Lavelle Edwards is such an incredibly hard place to play for anybody, and it proved to be too hard for TCU.
Well, it's a tough road game for BYU next week, Alex. They're heading on the road, going to be at Cincinnati. Cincinnati lost to Arizona today, so they're probably going to fall out of the top 25, but we know that's a tough test for BYU. They got to rise to the occasion. Again, got to win out if you want to make the Big 12 championship for a rematch against Texas Tech.
Maybe
that's going to be a tough one.
Maybe they'll get an angry Cincinnati, man.
They could. They very well could.
Off back-to-back losses, they're basically essentially out of the Big 12 race at this point. They might play angry, man. So I think it'll be an interesting matchup.
Whatever happens, you and I will be here for the post game. Kickoff time has not been announced yet. That was put on a hold. It'll probably come out, I guess, tomorrow or maybe Monday. So we will see. But whenever it is, Alex Napoles and I will be here. Unless it's happens to be at the same exact time as Utah, then I guess we'd have to split duties. But one of us at the very least will be here. I want to give a shout out to Alex Carey, of course, and a little cameo from Jake Hatch for jumping on in the post game, sending us audio and answering some tough questions for us. Shout out to Alma Bean, staying late in the studio, keeping us on the radio, making cuts, keeping us on air, and then posting everything online afterwards. Really appreciate him producing. And then for Alex Napoles and myself, I'm Christian Esparza. Thank you to everybody staying up late with us, pushing 1 a.m. Always fun doing these late night shows, man. So thanks to everybody involved with this. Another edition of your Cougar Post Game Show, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.